I will tell you something about the interviews. So 28 Olympians were interviewed. I personally interviewed all of them. And in these interviews, we discussed the whole spectrum, the holistic spectrum of their lives. We talked about the childhood, youth, current life, future plans. We talked about their professional life and their personal life. And I wanted them to remember the critical events in talent development. What have been the critical events in their life? Usually we talked 1 hour to 3 hours, and all the interviews were recorded and transcribed. From these 28 Olympians, I chose 6 female Olympians, because I also wanted to look the gender, how are these females doing, because they are so small group. 6 female Olympians were chosen, and then I chose a male who was closest to this female's profile. So every female had a male peer from the data that represented the same age group and professional orientation than the female. For example, if I had a 20-year-old female who was a researcher in physics, I chose a 20-year-old male who was a researcher in physics to be able to compare. And we continued the interviews 1 to 2 hours, and this was much more in-depth. And the same topics were discussed again: childhood, school, career, job, spouse, lifestyle, friends and hobbies. And I also corrected curriculum vitae of these people, because sometimes people can remember things wrong. Even if they don't lie, they might remember things wrong. So the curriculum vitae were used to compare their publications and their career advancement. And after that, the interviews were analyzed with the emphasis on critical events. What were the experiences that helped them to identify their talent or to succeed in their career? And here we see some of the critical events. 6 males, 6 females. And first, if we look at the events in childhood, before the school years, they all reported reading experiences. Reading was important. They were early readers. But if you look at the males and the females, you can see that all the males were early readers. They had a lot of reading experiences, but only 2 females reported or emphasized that as a critical event. Mathematics experiences, again, all the males had a lot of mathematics experiences, but only 2 females. And here we should look at the parents. Parents are the one who provide these experiences for their children at the early age. So maybe boys were offered more these kind of experiences, and the girls were taken to the ballet or singing or drawing, something else. Science experiments, half of the males, only 1 of the females. Discussions with parents. Parents discussed more with their sons than with their daughters about scientific issues. I'm sure they discussed something else with their daughters. When we come to the school age, you can see that there is more equality. So now females have almost the same amount of critical events than the males. All of these Olympians, academic competitions have been critical events. They told me that was the critical moment. Teacher told me you should compete. And teachers' encouragement, if you see, has been more important for females than males. I have 2 females in my data who told me that the teacher told them, you're going to have a PhD in mathematics. So it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, teacher believed in me, teacher told me I can make it, and they did it. So here we see how important teachers are. Teachers' encouragement, especially if the child is not getting it from home. Teacher is the one who can identify, who can encourage, and who can make it as a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you look, the males had more peer support. They had other males. They played chess, they solved mathematical problems. But the girls, they didn't have that many same-minded peers. And also the hobbies with males, they were more scientific-oriented than with the females. When we come to the college age, more equality, studies abroad was a very important factor. Those who are the top researchers in my sample, all of them have been abroad. So they had to go to study with the top scientists to see how this field is somewhere else. Also, choosing the right domain was very important, because sometimes you are talented in everything. These people, they were talented in math, in physics, and in chemistry. Sometimes it was difficult to choose what would be my field. And many times the right field was computer science. Even your field was mathematics, you planned your studies so and chose the domain that you can perform in computer science. This was an example. And mentor support, not that many. Females emphasized it more, but most of these people, they told me, I'm a self-made man. So I really think that it's their own inner drive that was the most important thing. Critical events in adulthood included international cooperation. Those who were the most famous, they cooperated internationally. 2 of the males also mentored the youth. So they were training the future Olympians. And then interesting observation was that the choice of a partner, who you marry with or who you live with, was a critical event. Males emphasized that they had a wife who did everything else, so they could concentrate on their math. So they had a good wife who took care of everything else. They had the freedom. With females, it was the opposite. Those 2 females who emphasized the role of a spouse said that we have been equal. Many times the partner was a researcher too. So it was like 2 equal partners sharing the responsibilities.